Are your property rights under attack? In the UK and in Australia, Labour governments are talking about a new tax aimed at homeowners with vacant rooms, or so-called empty nesters. Their goal is to free up large family homes in high demand areas. But this raises the question, and pretty big question, where does housing policy end and where does property rights actually begin? To be clear, this is not a new tax yet. Politicians from the opposition have come out to say that the empty room tax has been discussed at government meetings and politicians have yet to rule it out. But it's not a tax yet, it's not on any statute books, but it is being talked about. The logic: it frees up underutilised housing stock for younger families and potentially migrants. But the risk is we start punishing people simply for staying in their own home. Staying in a house that they built, they raised their family in, and potentially it's still the home that the family gathers for big important events. Either it is going to force people to sell their home, downsize, or rent rooms out to complete strangers. That's the idea of it anyway. And this turns home ownership into something somewhat conditional. You own your own home, but only as long as the state agrees that you're using it efficiently. And that is a dangerous path to tread. These types of policies are concerning for several different reasons. They weaken property rights, in this case the family home, but property rights don't only apply to home, they also apply to like land, cars, shares in company, and private property rights relate to ownership. And it is concerning that states think that it's in our best interest for people to lose some of these rights that have been well established or took a long time to establish in the first place. I'd also question who is voting or who would vote for such a tax, and who does it really serve? If the government needs more tax revenue, surely there's better ways to find it than taxing the family home or targeting the family home. While this bedroom tax has been mentioned in the UK and Australia, and it's not yet law, it doesn't take long before someone decides it would be a good idea in Ireland or elsewhere. There was some talk about a housing referendum in Ireland recently. The main element of that housing referendum, if you were to read it carefully, was to remove the right of private property ownership rights from the Irish Constitution. And that is such a loss of a right that could have far-reaching consequences. One that I'm not going to go into in this video, but perhaps it does merit its own video in its own right. There are issues that do need to be addressed. There is an issue in terms of empty nesters and large homes sitting in areas with high services that young families actually do need in terms of schools, colleges, etc., that older people don't need. But younger families end up having to travel long distances to get to these schools, or the government actually have to build new schools in new areas. And that seems like a total waste in my mind. In parts of the US, homes in top tier school zones have crazy high property taxes. So when kids are actually finished in the school, these costs nudge the family owners to move from those areas, and this frees up homes for new families that want to come in and avail of those schools, and it avoids new schools having to be built all the time in new areas. But I don't like the idea of a high property tax for Ireland. It's a brutal tax, to be honest, and it feels quite harsh from a family point of view. But it does keep the flow of homes moving within these good school areas. But it's a stick and not a carrot. And I always think giving a carrot is a better way to actually get things done or achieve things within a government. Giving older homeowners or those empty nesters a better place to actually move to, or a strong financial reason to move, is a better idea than taxing empty rooms in my mind. Perhaps you could designate areas as downsizer zones, where developers could actually build out tax efficient developments for these empty nesters to move to if they move and sell up from high demand areas. Perhaps there's a way to create an element that they don't have to pay income tax on their retirement or their pension if they move to certain areas, and they get a good tax break and relief if they actually move to this. Florida in the US effectively acts like the downsizing zone of America. It attracts a lot of retirees because there's no income tax, and they move there because they don't have to pay income tax on their pensions. Ireland could actually create smaller zones like this to attract empty nesters into them, and this is a far better way to achieve that goal of freeing up supply in high demand areas. Because realistically, let's face it, if a bedroom tax does come in and is introduced, I hope it doesn't, and I don't think it will, but it's not a very good, effective way for governments to get what they want, i.e. free up land or free up homes within that area. People just, if they don't want to rent or they don't want to sell, they're just not going to do it. And I honestly don't think this is a good way to achieve a good outcome on this. I don't think it will happen. But it is concerning that governments are thinking along these lines. It's loss of hard-earned or hard-fought rights, and giving up those rights doesn't seem appropriate, and the government just throwing away these type of rights in terms of property rights and private rights seems ridiculous at the moment.